There's a whole world of cinema to be discovered. You've just got to overcome that 1-inch barrier known as subtitles. This is that 1-inch barrier, a podcast about foreign films.
Nailed it. Said it better myself.
Nailed it. This is Nick Labarro.
That's me.
This is Kieran Griffiths.
That's me.
I'm Josh Barry.
You are.
And we wouldn't have it any other way. We wouldn't have it any other way, Josh.
And we're here for some kung fu today.
Oh, hell yeah, we are. After a string of borderline clinical depression in film
I
form.
was getting sad. After I watched that last film, I'm like,
oh man, we just had a string of movies where we were like, oh my God. Yeah, it wasn't intentional.
Yeah,
it wasn't
It was
intentional.
a pretty grim run there for a little while.
Great.
But
Films, but grim.
All films that we gave good ratings to.
Yeah.
Josh is here to pull us out of the depression hole, and
Yeah, hopefully. I've turned to Mr. Chow, Stephen Chow.
Stephen
To
Chow.
hopefully enlighten? No,
Well,
not enlighten.
We just bring the mood up at least a
Entertain.
bit. But entertain's a
Entertain.
good word with Kung Fu Hustle.
In
And
the
you-
words of Mr. Robbie Williams, let me entertain
Yeah,
you.
yes.
Well, I'll say for a fact, Stephen Chow in fact did. So was this the first time we'd all seen?
I'd not seen it.
First time for me.
You
first-
hadn't heard of it.
I hadn't even heard it. I didn't know who Stephen
I'd
Chow was.
seen it
you'd
before.
seen
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I'd seen it before.
Yeah.
As a fan of Stephen Chow's early work.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this was
I'm not a hipster or anything, but I did know who Stephen Chow was before we started this podcast. I'm quite well versed in Kung Fu Hustle and Shaolin soccer.
But I didn't know much about this film going in.
How did you find it then? How did you come across it?
I after watching 4 months.
Oh, you sent us the screenshot of like
Googled.
happy foreign films or something, was it?
Yeah, like for best comedy foreign films or something.
We needed
Give
it.
me something.
We're laughing already. That's it. If we don't laugh, we'll cry. So.
And then this one came up, and I thought I would love to do some more actiony stuff as
yeah,
well.
100%.
Because I think one of the only ones we've probably done is The Raid.
Raid.
Action's not a genre that we've
Infernal
kind of
Affairs has some action, but
Yeah.
it's not like action packed. Yeah.
And I'm
tried
sure
to
there
do
are foreign
Sisu.
action films.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there's-
But it's just, I think we gravitate towards the critically acclaimed stuff or the stuff that interests
It's
us.
just
and that
easy,
tends to be drama and war and romance.
I
and-
think Kung Fu Hustle has a reputation, though. I think this is a movie that
it's got a
I
cult
saw
following.
that.
a cult,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
great. I mean, just
yeah.
looking at this briefly now, on a $20 million budget, it made $104 million worldwide. Like, and I remember this movie coming out on, like, I saw it first at home on DVD. Like, it was that classic Friday night at Blockbuster. And my dad, who was very sort of influential with my appreciation, I wouldn't say love because I don't watch them as much now, but like very much like Chinese, Japanese, martial arts cinema.
Yeah.
This was like a overnight rental that he was like, oh, hell yeah, we're watching Kung Fu Hustle.
Yeah,
and like, I watched it with him and I was like, this movie fucking bangs. Like, this is a fun movie. So
this came out 2004.
yeah, I was 9 years old.
9 years old. Wow.
That's yeah. Sorry, Josh.
Every time one of us mentions our age when it's like
Yeah.
a film came out, Josh just ages another
He's
year.
like, let's never bring that up again.
Another year.
But that's sort of just to paint the picture.
10.
I would have been like,
I feel like
I would have been 9 or 10 when I first
Yeah.
saw it. So
Yeah.
like, you can imagine being 10 years old watching this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking cool.
Well, this will be. And had you seen it since?
No, it was my
Okay,
first
cool,
time
cool.
in
Okay.
20 years watching it. Yeah.
So in Shanghai, China in the 1940s, a wannabe gangster aspires to join the notorious Axe Gang, while residents of a housing complex exhibit extraordinary powers in defending their turf.
This is something I love about Kung Fu cinema or especially Chinese martial arts cinema, is that they embrace the supernatural and the spirituality of it as well, that it's so heightened and it's so over the top, it's so ridiculous that it leads to these incredibly creative and fun and stylistic action scenes.
Yeah.
This is not The Raid.
No.
Something I grew up with and I thought about a lot during this film was Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
but that movie was
that-
influenced by so many of these 70s
Yeah.
and 80s and 90s
Yeah.
Kung Fu martial arts films.
Yeah.
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 Because Kung Fu, I think you have to also look at the difference between what is like say, the martial arts we see in John Wick, which is a very practical, while it is still very stylized and heightened, it's a far more practical form of
It's quite grounded.
grounded self-defense, as opposed to like what we see in something like Kung Fu Hustle, which is people jumping in the
borderline
air.
a superhero film.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But there's so many, like, I think it's something, another one that came out like a couple of years after this, The Forbidden Kingdom with Jackie Chan, which is far more, it's set in like, I think like the 1600s or something in China. And it's far more about that supernatural side of things and like embracing the spirit of an animal, certain animal to your style of Kung Fu and stuff. So like, I love this sort of cinema. I think it's so much fun.
Yeah. It looks great.
Oh, it's so cool.
Especially
The stunt work's incredible.
Especially like the opening parts.
Oh, yeah.
With the big sort of sets and color.
And they feel like sets.
They
very
feel like
deliberately.
sets.
Nothing feels realistic.
No.
It feels like you're filming on a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which recent film I've seen, we've talked about a little bit, Queer.
Oh, Queer, yeah, which had,
Looks like this.
Yeah.
miniatures were
Which
built
you wouldn't
to,
expect.
no, because it looks
But
incredible.
when this starts out and you see those sets, really,
it looks like an old Hollywood set where, you know, they painted the horizon on there. So
Yeah.
it has
And
depth,
the
but
buildings are just like frontages.
there's like an uncanny valley sort of thing
Yeah.
about it. It doesn't look quite real, but it works so well in this heightened reality, which immediately off the bat, when we first introduced the Axe Gang, and you're like, these are like suit wearing bad guys who have like masquerade masks on, and they walk around in this like almost like musical, they're like a West Side Story gang, basically. They're a couple of clicks away from singing a song, right? So
that's right.
and they have this like real stylish look about them, and you immediately know straight away it's kind of like, oh, this is like this heightened reality that we're working in. What I do love about this movie is that our protagonist is complex in the fact that he wants to become a bad guy.
Yeah,
like that's
true.
the thing, right? Like
Yes.
this isn't necessarily a guy who's like the hero trying to save this like town that's getting massacred and fucked up by this gang. But he's kind of like, oh yeah, I want to be those guys. Like, I'm sick of being tread on. I'm going to go where the cool stuff is and become a part of the Axe Gang.
He has a like, monologue in there, I think, at one point. It's basically like, you know, it's like, oh, the good guys never get anywhere. Like
100%.
being a bad guy is just a shortcut to success.
And it's
So much less work.
It's so funny that like it adds this like fun level of complexity to his character, but it's like you don't really see stories like that.
No.
How many times have we and like a very akin sort of story, I guess, in just like a narrative sense, is like Seven Samurai, right? Like you get these people together, the band together to stop the people coming invade your town. What would happen if one of those seven was like, hold up a second, like, no.
What if I join the
What if I join the bad guys? Now whether you're just a sixth samurai, but I know what you're, it's that sort of thing of like, it's a fun way to sort of flip the narrative on its head.
But he's
and
incompetent.
he's
That's where the
super
comedy
incompetent.
comes
That's
from.
exactly.
He's trying and failing to join this murderous
Favorite
gang.
style of comedy, of slapstick physical comedy, is that one where they are incompetent, and Jackie Chan does this incredibly well.
Yeah.
They're incompetent, but you know they're that good at it in real life that they make the incompetence look kind of cool. And they're like, this guy's an idiot and he's fumbling around everywhere, but he's still managing to like do these insane choreographed pieces. The physical comedy in this film is unreal. It's so funny.
The knife scene,
Amazing.
where like me and Susie were hysterically laughing when he tries to get his mate to throw a knife.
Oh,
At the landlady.
Yeah.
And
Great. I love the
Just
character.
repeatedly keeps
Throwing-
throwing knives into himself.
It's
to himself.
so
Then-
funny.
Yeah.
That's a good example of like having a joke sort of go too long, and then it gets to the point where you're like, okay, I get it, and then it goes on just long enough. You're like, okay, it's funny again now. Like it's
That's right. Yeah.
That's probably one of the funniest scenes.
Yeah.
in the film.
That was the funniest thing for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
One of the issues I had with it from the get-go, though, is that, as you said, it's set in 1940s Shanghai.
Right.
Yes.
There was nothing about this that made me feel like it was set in the 1940s.
Sure. Yeah.
No,
Like, I think because
probably only what the
Just a lack of technology,
Axe Gang are wearing.
Yeah.
In they're like that.
They're almost like from a
gangster-
Prohibition era sort of
that's
New
right,
York,
that's
right?
But I
that's
think-
probably all. Yeah.
The film does not put a lot of effort into like its production design and costumes and cinematography to make it feel like a.
Do you feel like it needed that? Like, is that a?
I don't know, because I go, okay, maybe you didn't need it because it's not the style of film to need it.
Sure.
But then why set it in the 40s?
Yeah, no, fair. Yeah.
Like,
fair point,
I don't know if making this film set in the 40s makes any difference to it being set in 2004 when it was released.
Because
there's
not really
nothing
saying a lot. Like, this is very much more of a hijinks movie than it is.
I think you could have set this in 2000 and it's pretty much the same film.
Yeah.
So I think to set it deliberately in a time period, but not go to and I'm not expecting them to do, brutalist levels of, because that's my frame of reference now.
Sure.
Given it's just come out, but I'm not expecting them to go all out and go, we're going to make this look exactly like it was
like
set
it
in the
did
40s.
in, yeah.
But I just went, I think I looked at the Wikipedia afterwards, I was like, wait, this was set in the 1940s?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that sort of gives away that it's not set in the 2000s or even past the 90s is the location and the sort of general living quality around that time. It's like people are still showering at a well outside, like getting their bits of water.
It feels a bit like a Western.
This is pretty much a kung fu Western.
Yeah,
this is very much a kung fu Western.
So there's obviously no cars or anything, but
no, exactly. I think that lack of technology sort of does date it a little bit, but yeah, you're right. There's nothing that's specifically screaming like 1940s
and like it's a
China.
nitpick, but it was just a bit of a gripe that I had of like, okay, why are you going to do it if you don't go to the effort of
doing that?
committing to it?
Yeah.
It's an afterthought. It seems like a real afterthought. He's like, oh yeah, this is like just in the 1940s, but also like that doesn't matter. Like, so yeah, I know what you mean, but this is one of those movies where I can absolutely forgive that because the level of fun that I was having far outweighs any sort of logic I care for in a movie like this. Like this is to me a great representation of turn it on, turn your brain off.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to follow much with this film. It's fun pictures happening in front of you with a cool sound. You know what I mean? Like it's
like
very
that.
much
It's
like
the grown-up equivalent of a picture book.
literally. But
Like with the ones that pop up out of the
a
page.
well choreographed picture book, a very well choreographed picture book that's stylistic, that's very funny. I love the landlady and the landlord characters. They grate on you at the beginning because you just hate them because they have the power over everyone.
Yes.
When you realize that they do have these sort of special powers as well, and they've actually been defending these people for a long time, you're like, okay, that's cool. Like, and the fight scene. I think, and I'll say this as a bigger guy, I think fat people doing kung fu is fucking awesome. Like, it's so funny, man. Like, you think about stuff like how this like led to the influence like of Kung Fu Panda and stuff like that. As silly as it sounds, it's so true. Like watching larger people do these gravity and physics defying choreographed fight scenes is hilarious, man.
It's true.
She was like, the landlady was like whipping a guy out with her titty away from being the best character of the film for me. Like 110%. If I'd seen that, I'm like, that's 5 stars straight away.
She's amazing.
She's really good. So deadpan. One of my favorite shots is the guy who's showering at the beginning. And it's the guy who gets picked on throughout the whole film. He's gonna stand up to like, I'm gonna defend the town, and she just knocks him out. She's like, you can't do that. Like you're a weak piece of shit. Like sort of. But his water runs out, and he's like, hey, turn the water back on. And she's like, smashes the windows open at the top. She's like smoking. She's like, what'd you say? She's like, turn the water back on. And it does that classic, she's obviously come down the stairs really fast. The camera moves. And she opens like the saloon doors of her thing and they just like stay open. It's that very sort of surrealistic
like
way.
Looney Tunes.
It's
very
super Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon, right?
Yeah,
so
the whole film is.
There's so
100%.
many of those moments. Like the
run.
really bad CGI.
Oh,
like,
God, yeah.
It's not designed to be realistic in any
No.
way.
Looney
It's
Tunes
designed to
Kung
look-
Fu Western. Yeah.
The
There you
running,
go. That's the elevator pitch.
That's, yeah.
I mean, the running
back next
scenes
week.
are Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote.
Massive.
Like,
With the dust kicking up behind them and
totally.
like
everything.
sprinting at 100 miles an hour down the road,
Yeah.
chasing each other,
Can't see their
weaving
legs.
in and out of
Yeah,
traffic.
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like at any point as well that the Axe Gang were actually a threat? Like, did you feel like their presence was...
No.
Yeah. And that's probably one thing the movie doesn't do well, is that, like, even the times they try and make them threatening when they have the classic, like, they've taken a guy, they're torturing a guy out the back, and they're doing... Like, it's violent to an extent, this movie. Considering a lot of it's stylized and it's that classic, like...
There's not really any blood.
overly graphic.
there?
There's only one scene. I'm trying to remember. I think it's the scene where a guy gets like a finger or something, or stabbed or something. I think
I
it was a
remember
bit.
earlier early in the movie, someone gets punched a lot, and you don't see any.
There's no. And so, have you seen the Ip Man movies? Ip Man 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it's that sort of Wing Chun style of. It's this style of fighting where, rather than like solid hits, it's that very fast sort of like death by 1,000 paper cuts sort of stuff. Yeah. And that's very reminiscent in this film. It's like it's not like anyone's trying to hurt each other. It's just far more impressive if you're just defending yourself really quickly, right? Yeah. And it leads to some cool stuff. Like I think the choreography of it's incredible. But there's never a point where you feel like the axe gang's a real threat. And there's never a point where you feel like anyone's like truly going to die.
No, the stakes never feel particularly high or real, because I think it leans more into the comedy aspect.
But it's cartoonish for that reason, right? Like it's Looney Tunes. Like you watch Looney Tunes and you can watch, Wile E. Coyote gets crushed by an anvil. Yeah. But you'll know it's going to spring back up and he's just going to be like, you know what I mean? Like that's... So it's that same sort of thing.
Those noises are in this movie.
Literally, like quite literally, yeah. And so I think it's just leaning into that. And I think if you know that going in, this is a far easier pill to swallow. Yeah. Because I can see people walking away from this movie going, that was fucking stupid.
Yeah. I'd watched the trailer and so knew that was...
That's what you're getting into.
Which, I agree with you. That's a better way to go into.
But it's very reminiscent. Like that was a lot of the Jackie Chan movies coming up in the 80s and 90s. They were silly. They were funny. There weren't as high a stakes because it was more about how cool can we make this stunt look rather than like Jackie Chan as a killing machine, as opposed to your Schwarzeneggers, as opposed to your Stallones, who in Commando, who in Cobra. The whole point of those movies was to see how many people those guys could kill in a film. Whereas Jackie Chan was like, oh yeah, well, you'd rather actually watch like try and scale down this bamboo scaffolding and you'd be more impressed with that than...
Yeah. I mean, it's very different even to like the Bruce Lee films.
Yeah, 100%. They were far more serious, right? Yeah.
Enter the Dragon, and what was the other big Bruce Lee film that he did?
Enter the Dragon and God damn it. Yeah.
I know the one I mean.
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
But those are while they're campy because of the time they're still quite self-serious. Like Bruce Lee is still a badass.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
There's not as much... And it's all visual comedy. Like this is a slapstick comedy.
This is a comedy.
Totally. It's very like Three Stooges.
Oh, totally. Big time.
It borrows things from like Keaton and Chaplin.
Yeah.
There's kind
so
of
heavily
classic,
inspired by that. Yeah.
Comedic actors. In a weird way, it also reminded me of Bollywood films.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. The kind of choreographed dance numbers.
Yeah.
Like the sort of like there's team up moments. Mm-hmm. I think there is literally a choreographed dance number in like the first 5 minutes with the Axe Gang.
That's
which is just, I'm like, okay,
this is the world we're living in.
Right, yeah. It's not explained, doesn't happen again. They just do a little dance number for some reason. But it does borrow, I think, from some Bollywood kind of elements.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
so it definitely kind of takes bits and pieces from other films, like even stuff like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, a lot of that.
It's so funny. So you say
lots of little things though, like obviously The Shining.
Yes.
In there, which
weird
was
shine. One reference.
Yeah, one reference. Yeah,
bizarre. Just, it's in there.
Yeah,
it's
kind of like he was almost like, I'm just gonna like put these little bits of different shout outs I want to put in the
movies
film.
that I love.
Well, Stephen Chow, I think, is just a movie lover, and he loves the industry of Chinese kung fu films that he grew up on, and that it made a name for himself within there as well. But he's obviously influenced by... He talks about how the references to... He brings up Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner is a huge one for that. Yeah. He obviously names The Shining in there as well. Yeah. And there's a line in the film, Tomorrow is Another Day, which he says he took directly from Gone with the Wind. Yeah. So like he loves so many aspects of cinema, right?
He took a quote directly from The Untouchables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he references the Karate Kid. Literally, there's someone called the Karate Kid in the film. So he's obviously just a guy who loves movies. Yeah. And he just wants his love of that to be seen on the screen, right? Like, and I think Kung Fu Hustle's a really great place to do that because it is the sort of movie, if you heard that in a far more sincere film, if you were like, oh, the Gone with the Wind quote or someone called the Karate Kid, it's an eye roll moment. In Kung Fu Hustle, you can go, oh yeah, I know that reference. And like, that's fun. He's having fun with it. Yeah. I think this is an interesting one because especially having done, if we look at any of sort of like, probably the closest would be Seven Samurai and Infernal Affairs in regards to just like the type of movies they are, where they're far more sincere and far more serious. I think this is a fun one to have done on the podcast. It was almost like Mandibles, where It's not a movie that's directly reflective of a time and a place in a country.
No.
But a cinematic styling of that country. We talked so much about the irreverence of Mandibles and the sort of irreverence of French comedy, where they're a country who's like, I don't give a shit about what anyone else thinks about me. I'm going to do what I want. Kung Fu Hustle is very much like, I'm paying ode to this thing that my country loves, which are these Jackie Chan style films, but I want them accessible for a Western audience too, because Stephen Chow loves those movies too. I think that's just a fun little amalgamation of those two things.
It's like, I want you to see the shoulders of the giants that I am.
I feel like I'm trying to defend Kung Fu Hustle, like really big. I'm like, guys, this movie's fucking fun.
But I guess
as of 2005, this film was the widest cinematic release of a foreign film in the US.
Yeah, I mean, and that box office return is a big part of it.
Part of that,
because we were still in the early 2000s craving those fun, like I'll get it up right now. If you look at Jackie Chan's IMDb from the fucking 90s to like mid 2000s, I'm telling you, he was in like almost a movie a year.
Yeah, well,
that came out in the US.
There was like the Drunken Master.
You probably had Drunken Master in there. Here we go. Yeah, but we would have like Tuxedo, the Medallion, all that sort of shit. Like, so I'll just go from 2008 back. So Forbidden Kingdom, he had the Rush Hour movies. He was in a whole lot of Chinese films. He was in Around the World in 80 Days remake, The Medallion, Shanghai Nights, The Tuxedo, Rush Hour 2, The Accidental Spy, Shanghai Noon, Rush Hour 1, Mr. Nice Guy, like all of these films that did so well in the US.
Yeah.
Because they were craving this sort of like, this action that wasn't part of the Hollywood. It wasn't cops shooting up. It wasn't like, because you think about Heat in the 90s, like the crime films were so big. Scorsese was so big in the 90s. Casino, Goodfellas, all of that. So
Fincher's stuff, Tarantino's
early stuff. All this gritty, dark violence.
A lot of crime thriller
to have
stuff.
Jackie Chan come in that time and be like, violence can be fun. Or if it's like well choreographed, like fun, cool action scenes.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like it dominated. That's why I feel like Kung Fu Hustle did so well, because it came out at a perfect time to be like, this is homage to Jackie Chan films, but it's come from China. It wasn't made in the United States. So
But even like the Wikipedia article has an entire section on references to other work.
Yeah, there we go. So
and there's stuff like we talked about, like Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner, The Shining, Gone with the Wind, The Untouchables, The Godfather, Blues Brothers, The Matrix,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man has a
Literally, what is it? With great power comes great
responsibility.
Which gets referenced in Heretic, which I watched recently.
How fucking good is Heretic though?
Very good.
It's quite good. So yeah, you can really see that he's just a guy who loves movies, making a movie about how much he loves movies.
Just a guy being a dude. It's exactly what it is. So, but I think you have to. No, actually, I'm going to take that back. I don't think you have to. But an appreciation of this style of martial arts probably helps a lot too, because it is, like we've all said, the stakes in the violence aren't there. This is just very much like over-the-top choreographed pieces, very stylistic.
Probably the only stakes were, and I really liked the trio that turns up in the village.
Yeah.
Who neither of them knew that they were all like kung fu.
Yeah, they were all
masters.
sort of kung fu masters in hiding.
Yeah,
who all happen to live in this like slum basically.
Yeah, and then the Axe Gang employs the second best.
That's a great. I love when you are the second best.
And then when that starts happening and they're after them, there's stakes there, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that probably felt like the only time, and I was sort of like, I hope the good guys, win this.
Yeah. I loved the guy with the rings around his arm.
So cool.
See, whereas I was just there for the guys with the, I don't know what instrument, it's like a classic Chinese instrument, but it looks like a big sort of harp.
Yeah.
And they're like using it to like, when they play a note, it sends out like a shockwave. It's the coolest thing.
It was
That's
cool.
what I mean. Like, it's literally one of those movies where you just sit back and go, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That's when I got big trouble.
It is the best film to watch when you are either 12 years old, as we saw with Nick, or if you are no longer 12 years old, and I don't condone the use of recreational drugs, but when you're high as shit.
I condone it. It makes the experience so much more fun.
That would be fun.
Having a
couple of beers and watch Kung Fu Hustle, like it's absolutely a dad movie.
Yeah.
This is like, and that's why my dad loved those Kung Fu like martial arts movies. It was ones that I watched endlessly growing up. So for him, this was like the peak of cinema, right?
Yeah.
Like you look back at those, Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, even Jet Li coming through in like the 90s and 2000s.
Jet Li, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
But he was in that same boat of like in the early 2000s, you had The One. He was obviously, he was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or Chow Yun-Fat was in that at least, right? So like you have all these Asian martial arts stars just absolutely dominating Hollywood in the late 90s, early 2000s because there was just such a hunger for kung fu films.
And I think we were all very over the Stallone and the Schwarzenegger.
Exactly. Yeah, because they became unkillable.
Yeah.
You can only have so many movies where, and I loved them as well. Commando I've watched countless times, you know what I mean? Like you can only have a movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger kills 100 people so many times before you go like, oh no, maybe he's just the Terminator in real life. You know, like this has, again, no more stakes at that point. So to see something different or the craving for something different and to have these guys get beaten up, like people forget it, like Jackie Chan would get beaten up. And it's about the hero rising. The Singh in this, right? The main character, despite, you know, his arc's cool because he wants to be a bad guy, and then I guess spoilers, can't really spoil this movie, spoilers. He finds out he's also part of this, like, he has these secret powers as well. So his hero arc comes into play, but he gets the shit kicked out of him before that, right? So it's cool.
Do you remember, I feel like it would have been around the same time an American film came out with an American actor doing, I'm sure it was called Kung Fu something, and it all looked like it was dubbed.
There's probably a few of those movies, I'm not going to lie.
There was definitely one.
There's ones that are coming to my head where it's like I've seen videos online of that sort of stuff, right? Like
I watched that a lot as a kid.
There'd probably be a lot of Steven Seagal movies that are probably like that.
I'm actually also
American Ninja, maybe.
I thought it was Kung Fu something, but I just read that I'm interested to watch this dubbed now. Because supposedly the
English
dubbing is way different script to the...
Jeez, okay, right. What's the go there?
I'm not sure. It just said it's quite a different...
Okay. I mean, shit. Like...
It'd be interesting.
No, okay, and this is another thing I actually wanted to bring up. The reason why this movie is so fun is because there is... And this isn't all films that come out of, like, Asian countries, but there is an overacting too.
Yeah.
And I love that. I noticed it recently. I only watched Squid Game for the first time, like early this year, like the first season. And there's a part of me was like, that show doesn't work unless it's kind of feels heightened in the performances as well. And the over-dramatized sort of almost soap opera acting that comes from these like heightens that as well. And Kung Fu Hustle is that. The way the village people complain about things is so whiny and over the top. It's very like Luke Skywalker first Star Wars, right? People forget how much of a bitch Luke Skywalker is in the first Star Wars film, right? He is genuinely like the most annoying character. Whether that was intentional or not, it works for the hero arc. But that's the sort of, you get that overacting and that whininess and that sort of, everyone's like over-exaggerated facial expressions.
It's campy.
It's camp. And it works because this movie's so over the top. But if you go back and watch a lot of those sort of, those less intense Kung Fu films and a lot of like campy Asian cinema, like it works for that reason. Like it's that over-the-top nature of the performances that are also very much a part of the reason this movie is fun, I guess, in a way. But if that grates you, you're not going to have a good time. Like I can totally understand. Like if you don't want to fall into like the magical surrealism of this, you're not going to have a good... You might just go and watch like Sylvester Stallone kill a billion people, there's a place for that too.
To be fair, I think in the same way that you guys didn't connect with Mandibles perhaps as much as I did.
Sure.
I can understand people not connecting with Kung Fu Hustle.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think if that style of comedy doesn't work for you, then it's going to fall pretty flat. And I think comedy is one of those things where it either works for you or it doesn't.
Yeah, for sure.
More so than I think drama is fairly universal, romance is fairly universal. I think comedy and horror either work for you or they don't. And I think I've spoken about this before.
Well,
how comedy and horror are
they're
very similar.
The two genres that emote visceral
yeah.
responses. You either laugh or you get scared, right? Like that's they're
the two genres that are trying to elicit a physical response from its audience. And it's all about build up and release.
Yes,
But I think in the same way that certain styles of horror don't work for people, certain styles of comedy don't work for
sure.
in the same way that I think, you know, the UK office is better than the US office.
Yeah.
But for some people are wrong and think that it's the other way around, but it's great.
And there's a place for both. I love the US office, but the UK is all time for me.
Yeah.
Like I love the UK and the foundations it builds. So
it is a funnier show, but it is a different style.
They're two different shows though. That's exactly right. Yeah. So
I think, you know, in the same way that Mandibles didn't work for you guys, I think, I can see people watching Kung Fu Hustle and going, this is fucking stupid.
Did Kung Fu Hustle work for you? Did you find it fucking stupid?
I wouldn't say I found it fucking stupid.
Just stupid.
But I don't think it worked for me as much as it worked for you guys.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't grow up with martial arts films.
Right.
You know, the first...
Well, we haven't even asked Josh if he liked it yet, actually, so...
Yeah.
Well.
Did you like your film, Josh?
I definitely liked it a lot up until about probably the halfway point.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was anything due to the story. It was literally just, I found the, I guess, gimmick of the fun for that first part of it. And then I just became
it's
a little
sort of
bit
outstayed its welcome a little bit. Yeah.
And
it's interesting saying that because this is like a 95-minute movie. Like it's not long, but I can see why it's
But
grating.
that can happen to
It's a
me
bit of a
with
one-trick pony.
comedies.
It's a bit of a
I
one-trick
think that's
pony.
what it is. Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
You work out what its shtick is.
Yes.
And then you're like, okay,
And it does
where
nothing
do we go
to
from here?
Unfortunately, the story does nothing to subvert that outside of making the protagonist seem also superpowered. But they wait till very late in the movie to that. That's the last 15 minutes. He uses those powers to help save the day.
And that's what I felt pretty annoyed with.
Sure.
It's not a film about, you know, having really, you know, characters with a lot of depth.
No.
You know, it's not about character development.
No.
But I felt like it was like, okay, his arc kind of only really starts in the last 15 minutes of the film. And we don't get to see how that actually changes it.
Yeah.
He's basically gone from incompetent bad guy to incompetent henchman to suddenly the chosen one.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah.
And that for me just didn't really work.
It's
and
an
I think,
opposite. That influence of the Matrix with that chosen one thing is just the Matrix does it so much earlier. Neo is incompetent because of his surroundings. Like he's not used to the real world.
Yeah.
So you need to see him go up and train. Whereas in this film, it's like, you're the chosen one. Oh yeah, okay, cool. I can do shit now. And then he does the shit, right?
But I
like,
think even with Star Wars, which you use an example for, I think we don't really sort of get the Luke is the chosen one thing till later in the film.
Yeah.
He is incompetent at the start.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think he has an arc. He has development. He has you know, the tragedy that happens to him at the start.
Yeah.
When we get interesting characters around him in
Rest in
terms of
peace,
Leia and Han Solo and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Vader as this big bad and the stakes that feel real. Like, we're talking about Star Wars. It's one of the greatest films ever made.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great example of how to do the hero's journey.
Yeah. Well, the hero's journey is a tried and tested formula for a reason. And when people subvert it, it usually doesn't work unless it turns into a villainous route. And then you look at Anakin Skywalker. Like, he has a hero's journey and then is kind of like, hold up a second, I don't like where this has taken me. Becomes a villain, becomes Darth Vader.
Or you look at Joker.
100%. Yeah.
Hero's journey into anti-hero, villain.
Yeah.
You know, like
Big time,
for all its flaws and all of its, you know, people can claim it copies.
Yeah, because you're talking about the
Joaquin
Phoenix one. Yeah.
But I love the way that it's sort of this, you know, he goes from being this, you know, downtrodden character into this larger than life figure who's a voice for the people. Like, I love that. But I think, Kung Fu Hustle doesn't maybe earn its moments. And
God, no.
It's not trying to, but it's like you can try a little.
You still need the bare bones of that in order to be really invested into it. Like this, like I said, this is a turn your brain off. Enjoy what's happening on screen, and then 95 minutes. If you've forgotten everything that came 95 minutes for, you can at least go like, I didn't waste 95 minutes. Like, there was enough that I had fun.
It's not a bad film. Like, the fight scenes look awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah,
it does have some genuinely funny moments. Like Josh was talking about the knife
throwing. The knife
scene
is great.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. The running. I did find that running chase scene very funny.
That was good too.
And the scenes with the landlady where she's like sprinting down the stairs.
Yeah, it's so good.
It definitely has funny moments.
It's cartoon.
But I think as someone who doesn't generally vibe with that style of comedy, that kind of silly, campy comedy, and whose only real exposure to kind of martial arts films is I watched Enter the Dragon for the first time a few years ago.
Yep.
And was like, it's okay. And I love The Raid, but I think that's because it's more of a grounded, dark
for sure.
Totally.
So I think, is it a bad film? No, I just think it's not my kind
Your
of
type
movie.
of, yeah.
I mean, you read the critical reception of it. It's very well reviewed. It was box office success. I think, what is it, James Gunn, if you care about what he says, called it the greatest film ever made. Bill Murray said it is the supreme achievement of the modern age in terms of comedy.
Wow.
And Roger Ebert described it as, and I mean, this just shows that we're as smart as Mr. Ebert, it's like Jackie Chan and Buster Keaton meet Quentin Tarantino and Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Actually, we pretty much hit the
That's
Jackie
good.
Chan, Buster Keaton, Looney Tunes.
And then it's got that it's very Tarantino-esque.
I mean,
that heightened dialogue,
like,
Kill Bill
even
style.
like the stuck in the middle with you scene from
Reservoir Dogs. Yeah.
I think it probably was a very different film to watch in the mid 2000, like in 2005.
Yeah, and that's why context is so important.
Like 20
right?
years later. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, and I absolutely watched this through a far more nostalgic lens than probably a critical lens. And that's fine. You can watch movies any way you want. That's the most beautiful part of film. Come at me, critics who've called me out on that before.
So imagine watching movies for entertainment and enjoyment and not overanalyzing them.
Yeah, because I have critical awards to win.
What a bunch of fucking losers, honestly.
Man.
Imagine enjoying free time.
They're fucking out there, believe it.
I'm going to work for 40 hours a week to come home and then do more work.
Wait, that's an option?
That requires you to do 40 hours of work in a week.
True. Actually, my employers are watching. Please don't. Please don't say. Keep that to yourself, please. I feel like the Bugs Bunny via Quentin, via Jackie Chan, via Buster Keaton is the elevator pitch ultimately for the film. But I think as well, it's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Absolutely an acquired
And I think
taste.
it so depends on your formative experiences with film.
God, absolutely.
Like you said, you grew up with films
with
that
kung fu martial arts.
both inspired this and were inspired by
Yes.
this.
That would be so different.
Yeah.
That would be
Whereas
really
it's just
different.
not a genre that I, the films I watched, with my dad, he gave me Star Wars.
Yeah.
He gave me The Terminator. He gave me Lord of the Rings. Like, that was the stuff that my dad was like, sit me down and go, we're watching this.
Yeah.
Oh, like my dad grew up in a house where my granddad had fucking samurai swords on the wall. And
right.
Dude, like very influenced by Asian culture in a very white man way. I'll be 100%
It's
honest
actually
with
a
that.
quarter Chinese.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't know that. Wait till you see my kung fu skill. I'm going to knock his brains out.
When he's talking about big guys doing kung fu, speaking from experience.
Yeah, I was like, I've been doing it the whole time. You just haven't seen it. It's been that fast.
Don't do it Roman
When
style.
Kieran...
Yeah, please no.
You got a shower rod I can borrow? I brought my own other rod. Don't you worry. Anyway. But yeah, it's absolutely an acquired taste, and it's one of those ones where you can't yuck someone's yum, but I wouldn't have watched
will.
But I think Kieran is right. If you
can you just say that again?
If
My
you really
ringtone.
grew up with those kung fu movies,
Yeah,
you're going to
100%.
really appreciate
because
it.
it's very much its foundations are stemmed from those. This is as much
gonna
corny as it is. It's a love letter.
It's
going to
give you a lot.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
And I was a Looney Tunes kid growing up too.
Sort
you know
of
what I mean?
bring to it was Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes. Which is very much
Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Night.
very much in the same vein.
And Rush Hours.
Yeah.
But I've not. I don't think I've seen a Bruce Lee movie.
I would say Kung Fu
haven't.
Hustle is far sillier even than Rush Hour. And,
Oh, it is.
And
Oh,
all, you know what I
way
mean? Like,
sillier.
which is a lot to say.
Way sillier.
Still very much is grounded in its own
In
reality.
reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything that happens in those films are things that can physically happen within
Yes.
our universe
Yeah.
and the laws of our
Yeah.
universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a cartoon.
Yeah, it is.
with real
It is a
actors.
cartoon.
This has more in common with Space Jam.
Yes,
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it does.
Also a
Crouching
movie
Tiger,
that was
Dragon.
very much a part of my life growing up. I
Yeah.
loved Space Jam. Talking about films from China, then I guess.
We're going to say talking about Space Jam.
I could talk about that for a long time. That is an underrated masterpiece of a film, Space Jam. Movies coming from China, I think, especially from a Western point of view, I think we are very much in the mindset that a lot of Chinese cinema was just Jackie Chan movies.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is very much formative of like the Western point of view of what Chinese cinema is. So in that regard, like it's very reminiscent. It's very much built on those foundations as well. But we know for a fact there's other movies that have come out of China, China and Hong Kong as well. You know what I mean? Like, so it's very interesting because I feel like I remember when we did talk about Infernal Affairs, we weren't really as well versed in any form of Hong Kong or Chinese cinema, right? Outside of martial arts films.
Yeah. So the only one, and I don't think I'm not sure if you guys had seen much of, is it Wong
Kar-wai?
Yeah.
No, I hadn't. No.
I mean, yeah, like that's definitely kind of what I started watching out of that.
Out of China and Hong Kong,
which is nothing like, you know, like
in
the mood for love,
like neo-noir romance.
Yes, yeah. That's probably my
So then, but you would have also seen Jackie Chan movies, the early 2000s as well, right? It's funny seeing the westernized versions of them, how they, like Kieran was saying, they do become more grounded in their own reality than embracing the like I remember watching The Golden Child a lot growing up too, and that was like, it's just so funny to see like the Western take on Kung Fu cinema.
Yeah, okay.
And as much as I loved those movies growing up, I would much rather go back to Kung Fu Hustle than The Tuxedo. You know what I mean?
Is Shaolin Soccer?
That's Stephen Chow? Yeah, it's Stephen Chow, and that one's really fun too. Yeah, but again, it's similar. So similar in tone. It's silly, it's fun, it's literally like the superpower kung fu, but on a soccer field. Like they're all jumping and kicking the ball around. It's wild. And then a team does like steroids and they turn into monsters and it's wild. It's almost like Space Jam. Actually, speaking of that, Space Jam,
all comes back to
Space Jam.
All
roads lead to Space Jam, not the sequel. Very disappointed in that. So, if I watch Space Jam in Italian, like, does that count for the show? Can we just anyway? Anything else we'd like to add on to? I feel like I've derailed your episode. Sorry, I was just so passionate about this.
Not at all. That's good. So you can fired up.
Yeah, I know. I was like, it took Kung Fu fucking hustle.
Taking 40 episodes.
40 episodes. I was like, I know all about this stuff. Yeah. And then this excited since I watched that Departed remake.
Underrated joke of the day.
Should we do star ratings?
Yeah.
Also, just go watch Stephen Chow's movies. Like he loves what he does, and he's really fun. It's
it's impressive
how
much he did for this.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, so we didn't even talk about that, did we?
Yeah, I mean, like the fact that he wrote, directed, starred in, produced.
He plays Sing, the main character. So
like
he
probably did a lot of
everything.
choreography on it as well.
You know, so I think that's really impressive. And as I said, I can respect any filmmaker who clearly loves movies,
loves what they do,
and is putting their love of movies into a film. Like I respect that.
Yeah.
For me, it is probably a 3.
It's still positive. I'll take it.
But I don't think I would rewatch it.
No, I get that. No. Yeah, I get that,
And I think, I think the comedy in Mandibles worked for me a bit more. It got more laughs out of me. You know, the scenes where, you know, she sees the giant fly and it's eaten the dog.
Yeah.
That got a bigger laugh out of me than I think anything
funny
in Kung Fu Hustle did.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of that, you know, breathing out of your nose a little bit harder than
sure.
normal. It wasn't really laughs. It was like a
okay.
But I think that's just my style of humor more than the film. So I'm pretty comfortable with a 3.
Yeah.
3.5 for me.
Nice. Yeah.
I definitely, I probably just got a little bit bored with it going through. I think the first half I was like,
it's great.
Yeah. And there was the knife scene, the
too.
running scene. I was hysterical.
Proper
laughing.
in stitches. Yeah.
Look,
after blatantly going in for this movie, like it's a 3.5 for me as well, because I'm fully aware of the flaws of this film, and I have so much fun with it. But it doesn't discount the fact that this is not like an incredible film. It's like a 3.5 leading to like a 4 for entertainment. Like for me, if entertainment's skewed to like a 4.5, it might be 4. It's not one, like I said, I haven't watched it in 20 years.
No, okay.
It's the second time I've seen it since the first time when I probably watched it maybe 2 or 3 times when I was younger. You know, when you're a kid and you just like rewatch shit all the time.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about the fact that things that get a 3 or a 3.5 can still be good movies, and we can still like them and enjoy them and recommend them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I enjoyed this.
There are plenty of films where, like, you know, bit of a different example, but Carry On. the new
Right. Yeah. I gave that a 3, right?
I gave that a 3.
Yeah.
Because I described it as the perfect film to watch between that weird period between Christmas and New Year.
Yeah.
Where you don't know what day it is. You've had too much to drink, you've eaten too much cheese, and you just want to watch something dumb and entertaining.
I like that that's just a specific Christmas to New Year period for you, where I'm like, the beer and cheese is like Jan 1 to December 31st for me.
All year,
and then weirdly, it just resets that next day. No, I was the same though. Like, there was so many times in Carry On where I was like, this actually is far too long and it sucks. And then Jason Bateman would have a sick villain monologue. I'm like, oh, this movie's sick.
I love
it's
Jason
fucking
Bateman.
awesome. So
He's great.
Yeah.
But
it's that same
that's the
deal.
thing. Films can just be a bit dumb and a bit shit, but entertaining.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be high fucking art.
No, exactly. And I think I have an affinity for filmmakers who love films as well. And I think you do see that a lot in not just this, but a lot of Stephen Chow's work as well. He's a guy who is just a fan of cinema, much like us. We're all a little bit Stephen Chow, aren't we?
There's a little bit of Stephen Chow in all of us.
Just
Amen
stop putting
to that.
our 20 million onto a screen.
Yeah, that's well. That's our next step. That's our next step.
I think we'd have done a better job with the 3 guys defending the village. I want to find out what our superpowers are.
Yeah,
I do love those 3 guys.
I know what my superpower is. Yeah, for sure.
Actually, also the scene where he comes in and he's trying to pick a fight with different people in the village.
He's trying to prove
and
himself.
they're all
yeah.
like slightly behind, and he's like, "Okay, the old guy," and then comes out and he's like fully.
That
ripped
was so
That's
funny.
a
Where
That's
it's
really funny.
It's like, no, wait, that short guy down there, and this guy stands up and he's like,
He's huge, and then the little kid, and
it's
they're
slapstick. It's cartoon. If you love cartoons,
but I think a lot of those funnier moments are in the first half.
I do,
and I think that's maybe why you fell off.
Yes,
after the halfway mark.
No,
so
I get
it
that.
really front end loads best bit.
No, I totally get that.
You know, even the scenes with the 2 incompetent sort of guys who want to join the gang. Like again, that's all really front end loaded.
Yeah.
But there are some genuinely funny moments. For sure.
Absolutely. Love the Looney Tunes. Love Kung Fu. You'll have a fun time.
Yeah,
You will.
So,
Another episode in the books.
whose choice is it next?
Mine.
I believe it's Kieran over there.
And now it's funny.
He's taking us straight back down the depression pit, isn't he? I bet you.
It's funny that you went
Funny
there,
mention
Josh.
I hope you boys enjoyed your Kung Fu hustle because
Now it's 6 episodes of depression.
we got a 4-hour drama about some war in 1943.
Can you see my tablet for a second?
I see it reflected in your eyes, and they're the window to your soul, my friend.
Oh, jeez. You're going to love this. It's 98 minutes.
Oh, okay. Sign me up.
And I was inspired to pick this because it's been on my list for a very long time.
That's
Okay.
good.
I own the Criterion of it.
Oh.
But the thing that inspired me to pick it is I saw that Dendy, our local cinema,
Yeah.
is playing this next month.
Oh.
Okay.
So I thought, perfect.
We could go watch
opportunity.
it at the cinema, yeah.
We could.
Should we do a live episode
From the cinema while it's playing.
I know
We'll just sit down the front. Nick
our
can get
live
us on a
reaction.
panel.
Hey guys, you paid to see the movie, not us, but we're just going to interrupt your whole 98-minute experience.
It was released in, let me just double check, 2000.
Okay.
Joint production between Hong Kong and France.
Okay.
In the Mood for Love.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll have
Wong Kar-wai.
we
Wong
just
Kar-wai
talked
film.
about.
Wow.
Okay,
Cool.
Completely unprompted.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Dendy are playing that next month. So I
okay.
thought, what a great opportunity for us to go and see a film in the cinema.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I would love to see that in the cinema.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Actually,
it,
I've
so
never seen it.
yeah.
I've seen it probably 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
right.
love to see that in the
So
cinema.
yeah, another
And the first
another
Wong
Hong
Kar-wai
Kong,
appearance on the show as well. Yeah.
That's
something
good.
Cantonese.
We'll see a really different style of Chinese film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about, it's very sort of like noir-esque romance.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
cool. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you both will like this film.
I mean, like I said, I
think you
I
both-
blind
yeah.
bought the Criterion because
Yeah.
like that just seems like my kind of movie.
It's a beautiful Criterion, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited for that.
Nice.
So keep an eye out. That will be
Yeah,
coming
cool. I'm
out
excited.
the start of April.
Yes. Yeah. That's it's funny. I mean, behind the curtain, we do record some of these very early in advance. And it's like, in April, holy shit. No, but we are. That's why they're always on time and such high quality because.
On time when Kieran can remember to get the edit done.
Well, that too. No, but like. We're not behind. That's all that matters.
So yeah, really excited for that.
Yeah, cool.
And yeah, very, very different sort of 100-minute Chinese film.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm very intrigued by that.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't realize it was actually so short.
Neither did I.
no, neither. Yeah,
So,
I always had
like,
this
I felt like
assumption
it
that
was a
Wong
bit
Kar
of-
Wai films were quite long,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, like the 2 hour 10, 2 hour 20 mark. But
Good pick.
we take a 98. We love a
Let's see how the
98
film
minute
goes
movie.
I
first.
like it.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it.
true.
No,
Yeah,
I think it'll be good.
Well, until that point,
Okay.
all of our fun little socials. Not the only thing that's fun and little. It's down in the description, our letterbox, our Instagrams. You can find all our stuff there. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like. Let us know what your favorite kung fu film is in the comment. This is something I've only started in the last 2 episodes. I've looked at the guys like, put in the comments what you like, and I've had to come up with it on the fly, and I think we've done it right in the last 2.
Oh, what are you talking about? We had a great one at the end of Quo Vadis Ida.
That's very true, actually.
Yeah, that was very good.
That was quite good. Thank you for listening to our previous episode. Yeah, it was. Oh my god.
Yes.
Weirdly, haven't had any replies.
Yeah.
No takers on that one.
Was it the word favorite? Perhaps that turned people off of it.
Favorite war criminal might have been.
Yeah, it might have turned them off a little bit. But, maybe we just haven't tapped into that. Well, yeah. Well, there's
Most successful.
Maybe it was the most successful. Yeah, we just haven't reached that audience yet. If you're listening, podcast platform of your choice, make sure you subscribe.
Careful with those hand motions.
A little bit of Elon going on. This is why you should watch the YouTube. You can get some
sending his heart out.
Yeah,
to
I
everyone in the audience.
really, from the bottom of my heart. Anyway,
Thanks for watching.
Okay, thank
We'll
you.
see you next time.
Stephen Chow.
the greatest podcast about foreign film.